Hi there. I am Dr. Pavini Moray. I am the founder of Wilcelium, where we're teaching adults the skills that you need to create love that lasts. And I'm here today to talk a little bit about talking about sex. So let me ask you this. How comfortable do you feel talking about sex? If you are like most people, um, you feel mixed about it, right? And sometimes you might feel more comfortable than others. Sometimes it might make you feel squirmy inside, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a not so good way, right? Sometimes it might be really hard to talk about what you want or to ask a lover to do something differently or to name a desire that you might have some shame around, right? You might find that talking about sex is arousing and that is uncomfortable all on its own, or it might feel really good, right? So I'm here to normalize that talking about sex is breaking a taboo, and it is all kinds of things for lots of people. And the thing that I'm here to help with today is how can you get better about it? How can you feel more comfortable when you are talking about sex? Especially when you're talking about sex with partners, of what you might like or not like, right? So there's two things that I wanted to say. One is that the more you practice this, the easier it gets. When I first started my career as a somatic sex therapist, I had to talk to people about masturbation, right? I had to say, how many times a week are you practicing this? How is this for you? What do you experience? It was just part of my job. But I would get to the word masturbation and I would be like, so tell me about your masturbation, right? I couldn't even get the word out. And I think that the thing here is that it takes time and practice and successful experiences to feel like, okay, I can talk about sex and not blush and not lose my voice. I can talk about this. So practice and regular practice is one thing. And then I think the other thing is to normalize for yourself that it might feel uncomfortable. It might be weird, right? But that if you have a lover or a partner with whom you're having sex and you make it a part of your regular practice to talk about sex, it's going to get easier with time. Okay. And so, for example, maybe you're checking in the day after each sexual encounter. How was that for you? What did you learn? What did you notice? What did you like? What didn't you like? Right? You can just use the force of curiosity. You can get really curious, and it doesn't have to be taking it personally. It can just be an inquiry, a gentle inquiry, and this can be part of the values that you and your lover or your partner uh, create and share together. Is like, oh, we talk about sex. A framework that can be really useful is something I learned from my friend Captain, which is hot and hard. So uh, let's say you want to talk about a sexual experience that you've had with your partner. You might say, hey, sweetheart, tell me what was hot about that experience and what was hard about that experience, right? So it's a simple making space for the breadth of sexual experiences, which are so nuanced, right? There's so many layers, so many things happen in every single uh, experience. It's kind of it's miraculous. It's a miracle, right? How much can be packed into 1 second to one touch. So tell me what was hot about that for you. Tell me what was hard about that for you. And just getting used to that there is that spectrum of experience across every experience, and that's okay. Like having, just because someone can name a hard thing doesn't make the whole experience bad. It just means they were working through something, right? So those are my two tips for you today. Is one, practice, make it a regular part of your conversation. To have some kind of framework like hot and hard, so that it gets to just be part of your vernacular, part of the speech, the construct of your relationship, so that there's space for the entirety of you. So you are right now struggling to talk about sex. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like it's too much. It feels charged. I get it. right? I hear this every day. I see it all the time. And I understand what happens when people get good at talking about sex and what happens when they don't get good at talking about sex, right? Because the thing is, if you can't talk about sex, in a very honest and vulnerable and open, curious way. If you can't listen and hear feedback and hear your partner's process about it, it's really hard to have connected, present, intimate sex, right? If you can't talk about it, it's hard to be really vulnerable and honest and actually do it. So when you aren't able to talk about it, to talk about what's working, what's not working, that's when resentments start to pile up, right? People have unmet needs, they have unmet desires, they have things that have happened that didn't feel good, that never got processed, right? And so this can become a wedge in your relationship, right? It becomes like a pile of baggage that is actively inhibiting your intimacy. And so that's when sex stops typically. And that's when relationships can go stale or even end. So the I'm sure you've seen couples like this. They've been together for 20 years and they're kissing and they're whispering and they're giggling and they're laughing, right? Obviously, they're having a profound intimacy, right? And you secretly hate them because you long for that. You want that intimacy, right? And so getting to this place where you can honestly and vulnerably talk about sex is part of that intimacy. It's part of really creating that intimacy so that your relationship can thrive and be a place of great joy and depth for you and your partner, and it keeps you together long term, like really creating long term intimacy through this practice of vulnerable, open communication about sex. So, if you are hearing what I'm saying, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, I want to talk to you and your partner and see where you're at and what's going on. And I'm going to tell it to you straight. If I think I can help you, I'm going to tell you that. If I think you would be better served with something else, I'm going to tell you that there's I just want to listen and hear what's going on. And I'm here in deep service to you and your relationship. And I want a world of thriving, loving relationships. So the next step is to fill out the form that's in the link, and we'll be in touch to schedule some time so that I can talk with you and your partner and really hear the specifics of what's going on and give you my best advice of what I would do if I were you. So that's the next thing I want you to do, and we'll get you headed in a good direction. Thanks so much.